Hello, my friend. I'm Grandpa Salah. Tonight, I want to tell you a simple story. It is not a story about magic. It is a story about life. When life feels foggy, sometimes you want the whole road. You want certainty. You want a clear sign that you are doing the right thing. But life does not always give you that. Sometimes life gives you only one thing, the next step. So tonight, I will tell you about a man people called the Lantern Keeper. He walked a quiet road at night with a small lantern, not to light the whole world, but to help someone find their way again. If your mind feels heavy, stay with me. This story is for you. In the quiet embrace of the sea, where the land meets the endless horizon, stands a sentinel of stone and light. This is the story of Elias, the Lantern Keeper, whose life was as intertwined with the rhythm of the ocean as the tides themselves. His home, a towering lighthouse on the rugged coast of Oakhaven, was more than just a structure. It was a beacon of hope, a silent guardian against the treacherous whims of the sea. For generations, the keepers of this light had watched over the fishing boats that ventured into the deep, their lives a testament to duty and solitude. Elias, with his weathered hands and eyes that held the wisdom of countless sunrises and storms, carried the legacy of his forefathers. He wasn't just a man tending a lamp. He was a storyteller, a silent observer of the ocean's moods. He remembered his own grandfather, a stern but loving man, teaching him the intricate dance of the gears and the sacred duty of the light. Every scratch on the brass, every creak of the winding mechanism held a memory, a whisper from the past that guided his present. His days were a meticulous ballet of maintenance and observation. From polishing the massive lens until it gleamed like a captured star, to winding the intricate clockwork that kept the light turning, every task was performed with reverence. He'd check the oil, trim the wicks, and ensure every component was in perfect order, knowing that lives depended on his unwavering attention. The rhythmic whir of the machinery was the soundtrack to his solitary existence, a constant reminder of his vital role. But it wasn't just the mechanics that occupied his mind. Elias spent hours gazing out at the sea, reading its subtle signs. He knew the difference between a playful ripple and the ominous swell that heralded a coming tempest. He watched the fishermen, his neighbors, as they prepared their nets and boats, their faces etched with the same hopes and anxieties that had marked generations of Oakhaven's seafaring folk. He felt a deep connection to them, a shared understanding of the ocean's power. One particular morning, a strange unease settled over Oakhaven. The sky, usually a canvas of soft blues, began to bruise with heavy, dark clouds. The wind, which typically whispered tales of distant lands, now howled with a growing intensity, whipping the waves into a frenzy. Fishermen, usually eager to cast their lines, were instead securing their vessels, their faces grim with concern. Elias felt it too, a familiar chill that crept into his bones, a premonition of the storm that was brewing. As the day wore on, the storm gathered strength, transforming the familiar landscape into a scene of raw, untamed power. Rain lashed against the lighthouse windows, blurring the world outside into a watery canvas. The wind shrieked like a banshee, rattling the very foundations of the tower. Elias, however, remained steadfast, his gaze fixed on the churning expanse of the ocean, his hand instinctively reaching for the lever that would ignite the great lamp. He knew his duty was about to become more critical than ever. The storm raged through the night, a relentless assault of wind and water. Elias worked tirelessly, ensuring the light pierced through the thick, driving rain and fog, a steady pulse in the chaos. But as the first hint of dawn began to break, painting the eastern sky with a faint, bruised purple, a new, more terrifying sound reached his ears. It was a sound that made his blood run cold, a sound that no lantern keeper ever wished to hear. The distant, desperate blast of a ship's horn, lost and in distress, swallowed by the roaring tempest. What would become of the ship, and could Elias guide it to safety? The traveler stood in the fog, ready to stop. Then he looked down and saw the small circle of light on the ground. The lantern keeper said softly, "You don't need the whole road. You only need the next step." And that night, the fog became a teacher. The lantern keeper walked as usual, but the fog was heavy like a blanket. The trees looked like shadows. The path looked like a question. He stopped, not because he was lost, but because the fog was trying to scare him. A young traveler came from the darkness. He was tired. His voice was shaking. He said, "Sir, how can you walk in this fog? How do you move when you cannot see the end?" The lantern keeper said, "I do not need to see the end. I only need enough light for the next step." The traveler said, "But what if the road turns? What if there is danger?" The lantern keeper answered, "Then the lantern will show it when it is time. Fear demands the whole map. Wisdom asks for one honest step." Then the lantern keeper said something important. Most people do not stop because life is impossible. They stop because they want certainty. But life rarely gives certainty. Life gives direction one step at a time. The traveler breathed in slowly. He did not kill his fear, but he stopped obeying it. He looked down. He saw the small circle of light on the ground, and he said, "Okay, show me the next step." The traveler took a slow breath and did not ask for the end anymore. He looked at the light on the ground and said, "Okay, show me the next step." They moved forward quietly, but the night was not finished testing them. The wind began to rise, and the lantern's flame started to tremble. The wind began to rise. The lantern's flame trembled like a small heart in the cold. The traveler stepped closer and whispered, "If the flame dies, we are finished." The lantern keeper did not answer quickly. He looked at the flame and then at the traveler, and he said, "Slow down. In storms, panic makes the darkness bigger." The lantern keeper lowered the lantern closer to the ground, away from the strongest wind. He changed his position, just one step, so his body became a shield. Then he said, "Even light needs protection." The traveler asked, "How do you protect it?" The lantern keeper said, "You protect it with care, not with fear. You stand between the flame and the storm." The traveler said, "But I want to grab it to save it." The lantern keeper answered, "If you grab it too fast, you will drop it." The first lesson is simple. Protect the flame and protect your hands. The traveler copied him. He placed his hands like a small wall. Not tight, not angry, just steady. And the flame became calmer. Small, but alive. The lantern keeper said, "The storm does not need to end for you to move. You only need to stay steady." They walked again, step by step, and soon they reached a crossroads. Two paths, both disappearing into fog. The traveler stared and said, "Now what?" The lantern shows light, but it does not tell me which life to choose. The lantern keeper said nothing for a moment. Then he asked a question. "What are you afraid of losing?" The traveler answered, "Time, safety, hope, respect." The lantern keeper said, "Good. Now listen carefully." He pointed to the fog, without using his finger, only with his voice. "The fog will not give you certainty. If you wait for certainty, you will freeze here all night. So you must choose with something deeper than fear. He continued, the lantern shows where you stand. Your values decide where you walk. Then he gave the traveler 3 calm questions. Which path keeps you honest? Which path keeps you kind? Which path keeps your heart clean, even if it is harder? The traveler looked again. One path was short, but rough. The other was longer, but steadier. He wanted the shortcut, because fear loves shortcuts. But he remembered the questions, and he chose the clean decision. Not the easiest, not the fastest, the one he could respect later. This is how people get stuck in real life. They wait for certainty before they move. But certainty is rare, so they stay stuck watching time pass. If your life feels foggy, remember 3 things. First, take the next step. Second, protect your flame, your peace, your dignity, your good habits. Third, choose by values, not fear, because fear will always offer a shortcut, and later it will send you the bill. Then the wind grew stronger. The flame bent low, almost disappearing. The traveler reached out again, too fast, and the lantern keeper whispered, "Not yet, not like that." And in that moment, the traveler understood. The next lesson would not be about seeing the road. It would be about keeping the light alive. Because sometimes the storm does not stop. So you must become steady inside it. The traveler reached for the lantern too fast, and the lantern keeper whispered, "Not yet, not like that." The traveler froze. The flame bent low, almost disappearing. The traveler said, "Then what do I do?" The lantern keeper answered, "First, slow your body. If you move with fear, you will drop what you are trying to save." He stepped closer to the lantern. He turned his body slightly, like a wall. He used his hands to shape a small safe space for the flame. Not tight hands, not angry hands, steady hands. And slowly, the flame stood up again. The traveler asked, "Is that the secret?" The lantern keeper said, "It is the first secret. When the world becomes loud, your first job is not to win. Your first job is to protect your light. Because if you lose your light, you will make decisions you will regret." The traveler said, "But I thought the lantern was for the road." The lantern keeper replied, "The road is outside you. The light is inside you." He continued, "In storms, big plans break, but small good habits survive. So you keep it simple. Breathe, slow down, choose one good step, and protect the flame while you do it." The traveler was quiet for a moment. Then he admitted something honest. "I am not only afraid of the dark. I am afraid of myself in the dark." The lantern keeper nodded. He said, "Yes, because when people lose their light, they become someone they don't recognize." The traveler asked, "So how do I keep my light?" The lantern keeper said, "You practice before the storm. You train your heart in calm days, so it doesn't collapse on hard nights." Then the lantern keeper said the final secret. "One day, you will hold no lantern, and still you must walk." He continued, "So you must build the lantern inside you. Your values, your discipline, your kindness, your honesty." He said, "That is the light that does not blow out easily." The traveler asked, "And if I fail?" The lantern keeper answered, "Then you relight it, not with shame, with practice, again and again." The wind was still there. The fog was still there. But the traveler changed. He stopped begging the night to be easy. He started learning how to be steady, step by step, not because the storm ended, but because his light became protected. This is for you. When life is calm, advice sounds easy. When life is stormy, character matters. So remember 3 things. First, take the next step. Second, protect your flame, your peace, your dignity, your good habits. Third, choose by values, not fear. Speak the truth. Keep your promises. Choose the clean decision, even if it is slower, even if it is harder, because later you will respect yourself for it. And that is the story of the Lantern Keeper. If your life feels foggy, take the next step and keep your light alive. Be gentle with yourself and be kind to others. I'll see you tomorrow.